Good evening, madam. I am looking for the man of the house. My name is Tunde Bashiru. I have come from Obomosho.
It is past 11 o'clock at night.
Yes, I know. I am sorry for the hour. But I've been traveling for 3 days, and what I carry cannot wait until morning.
What is your business with my husband?
Ask him, madam. Ask him about Obomosho, about the year 2009. Ask him.
Welcome to Fables by Timo, where behind every fable hides a truth. Stay with me. There is a particular kind of silence that falls over a home the moment the truth arrives at the door. You have heard it, perhaps. Not the silence of peace, not the silence of sleep, but the silence of a house holding its breath. Every wall, every beam, every sleeping child, all of it suddenly fragile, suddenly balanced on the edge of one man's next decision. This is a story about that silence. It is a story about Rotimi Adeyemi, a man who came from nothing and built something extraordinary. A man his village celebrated, a man his wife adored, a man his children looked up to him the way children look up at mountains, as something permanent, something that will always be there. It is a story about what can happen when a mountain has a secret buried in its foundation. And it is a story about a woman, a wife, a mother, who will stand at the intersection of truth and love and have to decide before the sun rises which one she can afford to keep. This story is set in Yoruba land, in the southwest of Nigeria, in a town that exists in the space between village and city, where old traditions still breathe beneath new money, and where people have learnt the art of asking the right questions about the wrong things. The names are changed, the place is unnamed, but the truth, the truth is as real as the ground beneath your feet. Rotimi Adeyemi was 29 years old when he had the thought that would change everything. He was standing in Mama Toyin's market stall, the stall he had worked since he was 16, hauling goods, arranging produce, chasing away the flies that always found the ripening tomatoes before the customers did. He had been working that stall for 13 years. 13 years of the same smell, pepper and earth and sweat and the sharp sweetness of overripe plantain. 13 years of watching other men drive past in big cars while he loaded yams onto a cart for 400 naira a day. Chai. That was the word in his mind that morning. Just that. Chai. The way a man says it when the weight of his own life suddenly becomes too heavy to carry with dignity. He had just come from his mother's house, where the roof had leaked again through the night, and his mother, Mama Adeyemi, God bless her, a woman of iron wrapped in softness, had swept the water out with a raffia broom, quietly, without complaint, the way she swept out everything hard in life, quietly, without complaint. And something about that sight, his 62-year-old mother, on her knees in the pre-dawn dark, sweeping water off her floor, had broken something in Rotimi that had been cracking for years. He loved her too much for this. He was worth more than this. And Adaeze. Adaeze. They had been married for 2 years by then. She was 26, a primary school teacher with a laugh that could rearrange a room. She never complained either. She was Mama Adeyemi's daughter in spirit. Both of them built for grace under pressure. Both of them deserving so much better than pressure. Rotimi watched her mark exercise books by candlelight when NEPA took the light, which was every other night, and his love for her was inseparable from his shame. Not shame in her, never in her, shame in himself. Shame that this was the life he was offering to someone who deserved a palace. He had tried. God knows he had tried. He had saved small for 3 years, opened a small provision store. It failed in 8 months. He had tried Okada business. The motorbike nearly killed him and the profits barely covered the fuel. He had tried buying and selling building materials. A crooked partner emptied the account and disappeared to Lagos. 3 attempts, 3 losses. And now he was back at Mama Toyin's stall, 30 years old, hauling yams, watching the flies. It was on that morning, after his mother's roof, after the sweep, after Adaeze's unmarked exercise books, that Rotimi made a decision. He was going to Ogbomosho. His friend Sola had called him 3 months earlier, talking plenty about a business opportunity in Ogbomosho. Sola had always been the kind of man who knew things before other people, or claimed to. Rotimi had waved him off the first time, the second time, but now something in him said, go. Go and see what this thing is. You have nothing left to lose. You have already lost everything you tried. He told Adaeze that night. She was quiet for a long moment, sitting across from him in their small parlor, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes reading his face with that deep, careful attention she had always had, the way she read everything, slowly looking for what was underneath the surface. How long? She asked. I don't know, he said honestly. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. Sola says the opportunity won't wait. She looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded, slowly, the way she nodded when she had made her mind up about something and was choosing trust over argument. Come back to me, was all she said.
I'm so glad we decided this together.
Always.
Me too. Facing it together makes all the
He
difference.
left the next morning before sunrise with a small bag, 7,000 naira borrowed from 3 different people, and the kind of desperation that in certain men becomes genius and in others becomes ruin. He arrived in Ogbomosho on a Thursday.
So good to see you.
Sola met him at the motor park, older looking than Rotimi remembered, but better dressed, much better dressed. New shoes, gold watch, a car that was not brand new but was clean and whole, which in those days still meant something. They embraced. Sola was laughing, easy, the way men laugh when they have recently crossed some threshold and can already feel the distance between themselves and where they used to be. Brother Timi, he said, using the old nickname, you have arrived. Come, let me show you what I have been telling you about. They drove for 40 minutes, past the town center, onto a road that became quieter the further they went. Fewer houses, more bush, the sun getting heavier. Rotimi watched the road and said nothing. There was something about the drive he could not name, a feeling, not fear exactly, a feeling of doors. Like a man walking down a corridor, passing door after door, and every door is closed, and he cannot quite tell yet whether what is behind them is treasure or darkness. They arrived at a compound, low buildings, plain walls, no signboard. 3 other men were inside, men Rotimi did not know. They were introduced quickly, names Rotimi would later struggle to remember fully, faces that felt deliberately unremarkable. There was a man they called Uncle Bello, the oldest, compact, watchful, the kind of quiet that belongs to a man who has learned that silence is its own kind of power. There was a man called Sagan and another called Festus, and there was Kasali. Kasali was not a large man, but the room arranged itself around him the way rooms arrange themselves around men who are used to be the center. He was perhaps 45. He dressed plainly, plain trousers, a simple batik shirt, but there was something about his bearing, something about the way he looked at you, directly, without the usual social softness, as if he had already decided what category you fell into and was simply waiting for you to confirm it. He shook Rotimi's hand, held it 1 beat longer than necessary, looked him in the eye. Sola says you are a man with sense, he said, a man who has tried and failed and kept himself honest throughout. That kind of man, he released the handshake, I can work with. Rotimi should have asked, then and there, what exactly the work was. He did not ask. He told himself he would ask later. He told himself he would ask before he signed anything, before he committed to anything. He told himself the lie that desperate men tell themselves in these moments. The lie that says, I can go further down the corridor and still turn back. I can look into this room and still choose not to enter. They sat. Uncle Bello served drinks, and Kasali talked. He talked for 2 hours, and the thing about Kasali, the thing Rotimi would understand only much later, was that he was extraordinarily good at talking around the center of a thing. He could describe a business from every angle, the structure, the profit, the connections, the network, the numbers, without ever quite saying what the business was, like a man who paints every wall of a room perfectly, but never shows you what is through the door. What he heard was transport and logistics, a network, moving goods from one place to another, substantial returns, discretion required. What he did not ask was, what goods? What he did not ask was, why discretion? What he did not ask was, why does this room have no signboard? He did not ask because the number Kasali put on the table, written on a plain piece of paper, no letterhead, slid across like a card in a game, was a number that made Rotimi's hands go still and his mind go very, very quiet. The kind of quiet that only comes when something you have wanted so long it has become a physical ache is suddenly impossibly close. He thought of his mother's raffia broom in the pre-dawn dark. He thought of Adaeze's candle and the unmarked exercise books. He thought of 13 years. He said yes. He came home from Ogbomosho with 20,000 naira in his pocket. Within 4 months he came home with 200,000. Within a year he told Adaeze to stop teaching. She refused at first. She liked teaching. She liked her children, the small ones with their lopsided uniforms and their enormous eyes and their absolute faith in whatever she told them. She was not the kind of woman who could sit at home. But the money was real. That was the thing. It was not a rumor. It was not a promise. It was there, in the house, in their hands, in the brand new account she had not known about until the first deposit landed in it. It was school fees for their own children, suddenly naughty struggle. It was a new roof over Mama Adiemi's head. It was concrete under that new roof, not the wooden boards that had let the rain in. It was real. So Adaize asked only one question. What exactly is it you do, Ratimi? And he told her logistics, transport, moving goods for clients, a network built over years by men with experience and connections. It is not glamorous, he said, but it works. She looked at him the way she always looked at him, deep, careful, reading the underneath, and then she nodded, and she did not ask again. Yeah, that is the thing that will break your heart when you sit with this story long enough. Not his lie, his half-lie, his omission wrapped in partial truth, but her nod, her choice to trust instead of dig. Love makes that choice for people. Love and exhaustion and the desperate human need to believe that good things happen to good people. Because Rotimi was a good man. Let us not skip past that. He was. He was kind to his mother.
Devoted to his wife. Present for his children in ways many fathers in his position were not. He did not drink, did not chase women, did not develop the arrogance that money sometimes hands to men like a second face. He gave to the church. He gave to his neighbors. When the street flooded in 2012, he paid for a drainage contractor out of his own pocket. He was good. But goodness and corruption are not mutually exclusive. That is the uncomfortable truth that sits at the center of this story.